Good morning, everybody. I'm in my bathrobe, and that can only mean one thing, an early morning book review. And today I have two for you, two early morning book reviews, and they're going to be fun. So our first one we're going to do is Snowfire by Phyllis A. Whitney. And this was very interesting. It was about skiing, and I don't know anything about skiing, and so I learned a lot about skiing, but it did have comical moments in it that I'm sure that Phyllis A., there she is in the back working away, did not mean for me to laugh at, but I did laugh at them. So let me give you the setup. Linda has come to the ski lodge resort thing in order to clear her brother Stuart from being accused of murdering Julian's wife, Margot. You got that? So Julian and Margot, husband and wife, were like Olympic grade skiers, really great skiers. And Margot was involved in an accident and she became paralyzed from the waist down. And she blames that on Julian. Now, Phyllis A. is very clear that it's not Julian's fault, but she's blaming him anyway. And so she becomes this really terrible, horrible person in her wheelchair. She becomes like mean and vicious and is writing horrible letters to people and everything like that. So, but she dies. And my first giggle came from the way that she dies. Now, I am sorry, Phyllis A., I'm sorry for everybody out there that's going to find this offensive, but we're just, you know who I am. If you're watching this channel, you know who I am. So they hear her screaming, ah, and they look out the window, and Margot is flying down this wheelchair ramp in her wheelchair, flailing her arms until she gets to the bottom of the ramp and shoots off like a skier and lands in the icy pond and drowns. Now that made me giggle because I thought that death was very cartoonish. I thought it was very cartoonish. But giggles aside, she's dead. And we must investigate the mystery of who killed her, who pushed her down that ramp, and we must investigate this in order to get Stuart, the brother, out of jail. So Linda, our heroine, shows up and she gets a job at the ski lodge. So like Julian has a house by the ski lodge. And so she gets a job at the ski lodge, and the very first thing she is taught, now remember this is 1972, the very first thing that she is taught when she goes to the ski lodge, and the ski lodge is owned by Clay, is how to make fondue. Because apparently skiers love fondue. They love fondue more than anything else. And her main job, and they keep telling her, Clay keeps telling her this, is when the skiers come off the mountain, when it gets dark, when the skiers come off the mountain, the fondue has to be ready. She has to get that damn fondue ready. So she's fonduing and everything like that, and she's trying to investigate. There's some sexual tension between her and Julian. There is Julian and Margot's daughter, Adria, who is just messed up because she has convinced herself that she's the one that pushed Margot down the steps or down the ramp because she was mad at her, but she can't really remember and everything. So she's kind of in a world of her own, and she's kind of wacky anyway. This kid's kind of wacky anyway. But anyway, I learned a lot about skiing. I learned a lot about fondue. There is a blizzard. This was another giggle moment for me. There was a blizzard that takes place during the book. And Linda, now she hasn't told anybody who she is because she wants to investigate without anyone knowing that she's Stuart's brother. So Linda has the job at the ski lodge, and she's over at Julian's house in the midst of this blizzard. And skiers apparently like blizzards. They don't like to ski in blizzards, but they like the snow left over after the blizzard, so they're all like excited, and she knows they're going to be excited when they come off the mountain. And so she tells Julian that she has to get to the end to make the fondue. She literally, I can show you the passage in the book where she's like, I have to make the fondue. She is so fondue crazy at this point. And so Julian is like, well, I'm sure that Clay can make the fondue. I'm sure that you don't have to make the fondue. And she's like, no, I have to make the fondue. I have to get there to make the fondue. So she risks life and limb with Julian to go make this fondue. She gets there and Clay's like, what the hell are you doing here? It's the middle of a blizzard. She's like, I'm here to make the fondue. And he's like, well, I can make the fondue. I never expected you to show up to make the fondue. Oh, I started laughing, tears running down my face over the fondue. And I was telling my mom about it, and my mom was like, well, it was 1972, and fondue was very popular. It was very popular then. And I was like, oh, I guess it must have been very popular because there's a lot of talk of fondue in Phyllis A. Whitney's book, Snowfire. But the ending left me very disappointed. The two books that I am reviewing today have a lot of plot holes in them. And what's the old saying? If plot holes were potholes, your car would be in the service station. So the ending, when we find out exactly how Margot died and exactly that situation of what happened that day, was really stretching. It was really, really stretching because none of our main characters did it. And it wasn't like an Agatha Christie thing where she brings in a different character, and it wasn't an accident. So I am not going to reveal to you how Margot sailed down that ramp. You're just going to have to read Snowfire. Overall, I thought it was very good. You know, I kept the pages turning, and I learned a lot about skiing and fondue. And I thought it was interesting. I thought the characters were interesting and everything like that. But the ending, a D on the ending. So I'm only giving it 3 stars, and that's just because it made me giggle out loud twice, and I did learn a lot about skiing. So Snowfire, only 3 stars. Now, what's next? Okay, what's next is this modern book that my mother got for me, and isn't it pretty? It's called The Secret Book Society, and it's a beautiful book, and it's copyright, I think it's 2026 or 2025, and this is why I read vintage. This book is why I read vintage, because this was, I didn't think it was a very good book. Now, it says here on the back, a beguiling tale of sisterhood and empowerment set against the enigmatic, I can't pronounce what I say, background of Victorian England. That's from Pam Jenoff, New York Times best-selling author of Lost Twilight in Paris. I did not enjoy this book at all. I read it. It didn't take me 3 days to read it. It's a short book. It has got so many plot holes in it. Remember the plot holes and the potholes and everything like that? It has got so many plot holes in it. There's a murder in it, and we just gloss over it. It's never mentioned again. Like there's no inspector and there's no nothing. It's just glossed over. It's about these women, starting with this one very high up in privilege Victorian lady, Lady Duxley. Is that it? Lady Duxley? Anyway, she invites these women to come to a secret book society. And how she picks these women out is never explained. One of them is being horribly beaten and tortured by her husband. The other one is accused of madness from her family, and they're always afraid that she's going mad. And the third one actually is an American, and she's trying to fit into this Victorian society. It's one of those situations where she was married to the title. You mean the titled guy wanted to marry her for the money, but she doesn't really fit in because she's new money. Now, how she picks these women, we have no idea because they've never met her. So I don't know how she picks these women. That's a big plot hole. So she invites them to come to her house and read books. And they can take books with them, and they're reading books that I love. They're reading Edgar Allan Poe, they're reading Jane Eyre, they're reading all sorts of wonderful books, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, all these great books and everything like that. But she's like, well, we should be helping each other. Well, it's never really explained how the book reading helps each other. I mean, it's nice for them because they don't get to read. Their families think that reading books, which has been common, I mean, that's a common thing among, Victorian society, that reading books kind of addled women's brains and sort of made them a little wonky and everything like that. And they were getting above their station and all that kind of stuff. I never find out how she picks the women. The women are very willing to go and just read these books and take these books, and they're very happy with them. Each chapter is about an individual woman and what she has to go through. Our most compelling is Eleanor, who is just having the crap beat out of her at her husband's hands. I mean, she's really suffering in that marriage, and she actually gets put in an insane asylum. I'm not giving away too much of the plot. She actually gets put in an insane asylum. But then they get her out, and it's like, how did they get her out? And, plot holes after plot holes after plot holes. It was a book that was just like, wouldn't it be great if we could have 4 strong women and they would rise up against Victorian society and just be these empowered women? Well, one of them ends up falling in love and with a very handsome, charming guy who's all about women's rights. Okay. The other one falls back in love with her husband. That's the American who married the titled guy. So those two get the traditional happy ending where it ends up being a man that makes them really happy, which I thought was a real cop-out. The Eleanor gets out of the insane asylum and lives a very happy life with her son, William, which is great. That's wonderful, but it's never really explained how they get her out of the asylum and everything like that, and how she moves on after that. And then our Countess, who started the Secret Society Book Club, ends up at the end starting another one. So she's going to help empower these women and everything like that. But the thing about it is they don't really get empowered. They don't really change their position in society. They are still wives and mothers. They don't become, like, I didn't expect them to become politicians or anything like that, but I expected them to become a little bit more than just happily married and reading books. And so this was just mostly about, what if these women got together and they couldn't read books and now they can read books, with kind of a plot in there. And like I said, there's this murder that takes place and it's just completely glossed over. Like we find out about it and then nothing is ever said about it again. So this book is going to go to a used bookstore. Somebody will enjoy it. I only gave it a 2 stars because it was just so slambasted together. I will not say it was written by AI, but the plot was so thin you could see through it. And the plot holes so big you could fall into them. So I only give it a 2 stars, and it's going to the used bookstore. It's a pretty book. It's a lovely book. It's a short book if you want a short read. So there you go, 2 stars. So, but then I want to show you two upcoming books. I'm reading this one, Seek and You Will Find, for my Daughters of the King, my women's prayer group up at church, and I have to have 2 chapters read in a week, and I hope it won't be, because some of the books they pick out are kind of boring. I hope it won't be boring. I mean, I love the group, and it's wonderful to be around women spiritually, and everything that's very important to me is my spiritual life, especially with my women's group, my spiritual women's group. And so it's called Seek and You Will Find. So let's hope I seek and find it's not boring. And then in March, and I'm really excited about this because I'm probably going to start it a little early because it's a big book. But Heather and I are doing a buddy read, Heather from Heather Reads, and I'll link her channel, Let the Right One In. And look at this. This is a pretty big one, and I'm a slow reader. So I'm excited about this one. It's about vampires. And I am totally vampire crazy with this whole new Interview with the Vampire series that I have been watching little bits and pieces of on YouTube. Let's put up another picture of Sam Reed, just for kicks and giggles, just to start our morning off right, because he is gorgeous. He's gorgeous. So anyway, those are my 2 book reviews. Snowfire, 3 stars, made me giggle a couple of times. Fondue, I'm here to make the fondue. What would happen if she didn't make the fondue? Would the skiers just come in and like tear their hair out and be like, where's the fondue? Where's the fondue? I'm sorry. Okay, stop the fondue. And then the Secret Book Society, 2 stars. I probably, really in honesty, would only give it 1 star, but I give it 2 stars because she got it published and it's a beautiful cover, and she did more than I did with mine. So anyway, anywho, that's all I have to say about those 2 books. And then you saw my other 2 books that I'm upcoming reading. And you guys have a fantastic morning, and I will check you later.